Remember Ruth. One year already, Ruth. We miss you. When you first found me, you told me you and Bruce happened to be at the lecture at Stanford University when I gave a lecture demonstration on Tai Chi, and right after my first book, Embrace Tiger, was published. It was so fortuitous you were there, and apparently you were just developing your own learning interest in Chinese philosophy and Tai Chi practice. And my book fit into your scheme perfectly, you said. But only after decades later, because Joanna Hunter happened to work for you at the Marsh. She also studied with me. We were Tai Chi friends. She mentioned me, and you got excited, said, we got to invite Zhong Liang to the Marsh. She did, you did, and I came. And it's the beginning of a wonderful, wonderful kindred love affair. And you become my elder sister. I'm your slightly younger Chinese brother. And we share so much in the love for Chinese art and music and calligraphy. And I admire you, the work you do with Ruth, and we become friends. And I am so fortunate, so blessed, able to come back and support you and work with you, help your staffs, and sometimes biannually. And also thanks to Joanna, she always support us together. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful, loving relationship of mutual supportive, mutual admiration, appreciation society. We are the siblings, loving or being siblings, kindred spirits. I miss you, and you left us too soon, but you live in our hearts forever, forever. You will continue to evolve and supporting me, encourage me in my heart, in my spirit, in my work. And I love you. We miss you. Again, you will always live in our hearts. And you will continue to be my mentor, elder sister, guiding me along. And you live forever in all of our hearts. We love you. Thank you.
Honoring Ruth. Ruth and I were drawn to each other because we both shared a passion for Tai Chi and also for the philosophy and teachings of Dongliang Al Wang. When she described to me what she was trying to create at the marsh, what she was creating at the marsh was a place that applied this philosophy of Dongliang. And it was a gathering place for people to come and be together and grow together. She was a magnetic force that drew people who loved that mission to come together and work together. Ruth had brilliant ideas, and she had persistence to accomplish them. But not only that, she had this great empathy for our humanness. And that's what helped bring balance. In many ways, I saw that was the center for balance. It's these ideals and this empathy. For example, shortly before my father died, we were getting ready to host a big program at the marsh, and she wasn't feeling that great. But she took time to share stories with me about her father and listen to mine. And it was felt very supportive in that moment. So the inspiration from Ruth that I think will live on is her ideals and also her empathy. And I will take that with me and forever be grateful. Thank you, Ruth.
I'm Marnie Hensel, and I just want to say that Ruth Stricker was a very large influence in my life. She was one of my closest friends, and she is the reason that I taught aerobics at the marsh, both pool and studio, for 25 years. I have been a competitive athlete all of my life. But until Ruth entered my life, I didn't really realize how much aerobics can influence your body, especially if you have had surgery to correct things like downhill ski racing accidents. I am now 90 years old, and I honestly thank Ruth for the condition that I am in. I use a walker, but I suffer no pain, and I can do anything that I want to do. Ruth was always an extreme giver, and she wanted everyone to be the best that they could be. Thank you, dear friend. I will always be grateful.
Hi, my name is Lyle Wiles, and I'm going to talk about what Ruth means to me. So Ruth and I used to laugh a lot about the way in which we met each other. And I was at the prison in Duluth, Minnesota, and one day there was a brochure that was flying across the air, and I don't know how it got from the marsh into a car at Duluth, and the door was open and the brochure blew out, blowing across the compound at the time that I was going to breakfast, and it stopped on the sidewalk, and I stepped on it and picked it up. And it was a brochure about the man who wrote the book called Flow. And so I wrote to her and asked if either he or she could come to the prison and speak to the Positive Attitude class graduation. And she wrote me back and said that he wasn't able to come, but she wanted to know more about what I was doing. So I wrote back and told her, and she agreed to come. So her and Ruth both came to the prison, and Ruth gave a really interesting talk, and she talked about how life isn't a long marathon, but it's a series of stops and starts. So if you want to change your life, you live it the way you want to live it, and if you make a mistake, you stop and you start again. And so each time that you start again, it'll get to be longer and longer, and you'll build a habit of having a new life. So it's been really interesting to visit with Ruth many times when I went down to the marsh. She agreed to come back the second time. The second time there was over 350 men that came into the theater at the prison, which was an army base, and they really enjoyed her talk. So I just want to say that Ruth has been a real inspiration to me. She's been a real inspiration to many prisoners, and we miss her. Thank you very much.
I'm Richard Leiter. Ruth and I were co-conspirators. We loved to dig into the big questions. Over a cup of coffee in her office, we would often look at, well, what on earth are we here for? What are we to do? What is the marsh to do? Ruth was a true seeker, on the growing edge, always a learner. She would always say, where have you been? What have you learned? What have you read? And we would dig deeply into it. Ruth's calling, I believe, was to heal others. When you know pain, others know it. She knew pain. She was vulnerable, yet she was invincible. She was always there on the edge, willing to help others, to lend a hand. And finally, she was relevant. To the very end, the marsh was her laboratory for relevance. And she kept the marsh relevant and kept all of us relevant to the very end. What on earth was she here to do? I think she heeded her calling, and for that we all are grateful, and we miss her.
Hey, Lynn. I guess we're supposed to be sharing stories about Ruth Stricker today. So why don't you share a story?
I would be happy to. I'm so sorry I'm not there with you guys. I'm there in heart and spirit for sure. I absolutely have so many memories with Ruth. I don't even know where to start. So she would always sit next to me in the general session at Icebomb. I would always save a seat for her, and she'd sit next to me and we would hold hands through all those amazing general session speakers. And we laughed and cried, and she was so much fun. But I have to tell you, Michael, my favorite Ruth story was in Austin. In 2009, we were at the final night party, and she decided she was ready to leave. And of course, I was ready to leave. So we couldn't find a taxi. So we took one of those pedicabs. And I don't know if you remember, but going down to the hotel, there was that huge hill. So we started going down so fast, I was afraid. But you know what Ruth did? She threw her hands up in the air and went, whee, the whole way down the hill.
Oh.
So that is Ruth to me. You never wanted to upset her. You didn't want her to ever be disappointed in you. But man, she could have a lot of fun too at the same time. So great memory.
That is a great memory. For the people who are in the room, they might not even know we knew Ruth from iSpa.
Right.
Where, you run the organization and I was chairman. And it reminds me of a time that every year, as chairman of the board, you sit in the front at conference. And I always had Ruth sit next to me. And for me, I'll never forget one time when Ruth came up to me and she said, Michael, I think it would be better if I stood next to John because he's taller than you are, and I look better standing next to tall men. And so I was like, okay, no problem, Ruth. By the way, John is my husband and much better looking than me. And that was the real answer because I'm 6'2.5" and John is 6'3.5". So I doubt it was the 1 inch reason of why she wanted to sit next to John and stand next to John. So it reminded me of, the times when Ruth did want something and she set out for it. She had a nice way of delivering her message to you so you didn't feel slighted. And for me, I always appreciated that she felt like we should have a responsibility to others. And so a lot of the gifts, and she was a very generous woman, a lot of the gifts that Ruth gave came with strings. And for me, it was a bit of wisdom in the fact that I knew that anything that I did with Ruth and any of the gifts that I was blessed with for the organizations that I was responsible for, always had to deliver back on whatever she gave. And for me, I always kept in my mind that responsibility for others. And so it was wisdom that I will never forget. One of the things that I love about her.
It's so true. And she was so generous to iSpa as well and did a grant in her name, and her legacy will continue. And we're heading into our 30th anniversary conference, which unfortunately is virtual, which is why I'm not with you guys today, but I will have great memory of her sitting next to me and holding hands as we go into that this week. So thank you, Michael, for being there, and thank all of you, and love and hugs from Lexington, Kentucky.
Thank you for your tribute, Lynn.
Take care.
Bye.